Well, here you are, you're 79 years old?
Yes.
Someone who's watching this interview right now, and they say, well, I'm going to be the next Roger Reaves, but I'm going to be smarter than him. I'm not going to get caught. I'm not going to be as greedy. I'm going to have people around me that aren't going to tell on me. What would you tell that young guy?
You're delusional. Absolutely.
Is it much harder now to try to smuggle drugs than it was back in the 80s?
You can't do it.
Can't do it.
You can't. They have the over-the-horizon radar, and I don't know how far it goes, but it's out of Virginia, and it's looking down. We have radar that goes up and hits the ionosphere and bounces back down, and they can see a periscope sticking up out of the ocean.
Wow.
And if you take off in the jungle of South America without clearance and like those missionary planes, there'll be 2 jets beside you within minutes, right upside of you, and they'll shoot you down if you don't go where they want to.
Okay.
So it's just finished.
Okay. Well, then, but the Mexican cartel started using tunnels underground.
Oh, yeah, across the border, but you get it to Mexico. But it's still hard to. They ship it across in containers and all kind of. Probably North American free trade is it's free drugs.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Roger Reaves, appreciate you. Telling your story. You had a hell of a run, but you had to pay for it very dearly with 30 years in prison. I mean, essentially half your life. You didn't see your kids grow up. You weren't around your wife. You were basically surrounded by a bunch of men for 3 decades. What I find is when I interview a lot of guys that have been heavy in the drug game, the one thing that seems to be in common is that for every year that they, make millions of dollars and, ball out like crazy, they do about 5 years in prison.
That's about right.
Yeah. And this seems like
right.
when you do the math,
yes.
It's about close to it. So ultimately, the time that you spend living the life is really never worth it, because 5 times every day that you spend riding around in nice cars and buying jewelry and having beautiful women, you're going to spend 5 more days in prison with a bunch of dirty criminals around you and guards and eating shitty food and, asking people when you can go to the bathroom or take a shower or so forth. And this is really the story that I try to illustrate, that a lot of times this gets romanticized in movies like Blow and Scarface. And, I remember even when I interviewed this guy, Azie Faison, who was part of the big drug dealing crew in Harlem in the 80s, they said that when the movie Scarface came out, it just inspired everyone to be a drug dealer at that point.
Yes.
Everyone went to the movies and said, oh, here's this Cuban guy who became a kingpin. I want to be that next guy, because the movies make it so cool and exciting looking. But the reality is not that.
And I think back on it, I had a job on the fire department. It was like winning the lottery. I believe 400 people took the test to get that job.
Yeah.
And I have 2 houses. I have a beautiful wife, 2 little girls, nice car, and a little airplane. What in the world? I must have been insane.
Yeah, you could be on your pension right now.
Completely.
After you could have been a captain for the fire department, had a pension of maybe $70,000, $80,000 a year for the rest of your life, living a nice, quiet life with your family instead of being in a cell for 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. It was a terrible mistake.
Yeah. Well, Roger Reaves, I appreciate you telling your story. And at the end of the day, you did your time.
I did.
And you're allowed to tell your story. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Vlad.
Till next time. Peace.
Bye.